Welcome in to the Punt and Pass podcast. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside by my co-host, Jake From. Be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at From Jake. Puntandpass.com, the number one destination for all things college football. I cannot believe we're here, Jake. Regular season is over. Conference championship weekend is over. The 12-team college football playoff bracket is set. And, man, we have got so much to talk about. What a weekend in Atlanta. Georgia defeats Alabama in resounding fashion to win its back-to-back SEC championship. They finish at the number 3 spot. The Big Ten championship was a great matchup. Indiana wins that one. So much to get into. A lot of drama, of course. But, man, what a regular season it was. Time for some playoff football.
Yeah, what a great way for this team to kind of cap off the season that they have had. You know, they haven't been absolutely dominating kind of all season, much like maybe Ohio State has against their opponents. But, man, they have found a way to battle and win these football games no matter what has gone their way or hasn't gone their way. And then to absolutely dominate Alabama in all 3 phases of the game in the SEC championship game in Atlanta.
Yeah,
man, what a way to cap off that season. I know the guys are pumped. Kirby's pumped. And but like there's still so much work yet to be done. I mean, the playoffs, you have to win 3 games to win the thing. So, man, it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, and when you look at how the bracket shakes out, of course, we'll break that down for everybody and show you some graphics. We got some really good audio cuts from post-game of the SEC championship as well, as we usually bring that to you. It ain't going to be easy, and there's a lot of really good teams, Jake, that made this college football playoff. Of course, I've got some gripes about how the rankings finished up. I've got some discussions on which teams got in, which teams got left out. I think that's pretty expected, but the Dogs dominated Alabama 28-7. They held the tie to just -3 total rushing yards. It's not often that when you're listening to a Punt and Pass podcast, I can tell you, and it's 100% statistically true, that if you're in your car right now, or if you're at your office right now, you had more rushing yards than the Alabama Crimson Tide did on Saturday. It was wild. We will break all of that down. I can't wait. It was fun being with you. We had a really fun season on Atlanta News First, Game Time and Overtime. You and I were there on the field with Bailey Burmaster, which was great because the stars were out, man. That's the best part about being in an SEC championship game, Jake, is there's a bunch of celebrities. There's a bunch of top-tier media people. A lot of ESPN folks are down there. SEC Network folks are down there. We were in the Alabama end zone, so getting the up-close look at those guys. You can just feel the atmosphere. You can feel the juice when you're inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium and it's Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just kind of, who's who kind of walking behind us, especially while we were doing our pregame show. You were definitely mesmerized by the backup quarterback at Alabama, Alex Mack. You're like,
yes.
Man, this guy's huge. Look at his arm. And, maybe, I don't know, maybe they might have been a little bit better if they had thrown him in there. In the second
maybe.
half. Who knows? But yeah, man, it was really fun. I mean, you got to see a ton of people, catch up with a lot of people. And got to deliver an awesome pregame show right there on the field, and I don't know, man, it was really, really cool.
It was very, very cool. Hey, you know what else is cool? The event that we have coming up this Tuesday evening at Solomon Brothers in Buckhead. This episode of Punt and Pass is presented to you by our awesome partners over at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Guys, it's December. Christmas is like 2.5 weeks away. It will be here before you know it. If you want to win the holidays and make sure that your significant other is happy and that he or she still loves you, you need to go to Solomon Brothers. It does not matter what your budget is. It does not matter how much you need to spend. Solomon Brothers can get you right for the holidays. And when you walk into one of their 3 amazing locations, Alpharetta, Buckhead, or Sharpsburg, tell them Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 10% off your jewelry purchase. They've got it all. Diamonds, jewelry, accessories, rings, watches, everything is at Solomon Brothers. They will hook you up if you tell them Punt and Pass sent you. Check them out on social media at Solomon Brothers and online at SolomonBrothers.com. Again, Jake and I will be at Solomon Brothers in Buckhead this Tuesday night. There'll be drinks, light bites, Georgia giveaways. We'll do a live podcast recording as well. Meet and greet, autographs, going to be awesome. Solomon Brothers is a proud partner of the Georgia Bulldogs. Hit them up on social media at Solomon Brothers or us if you're interested in learning more. Thank you to Solomon Brothers. Today's episode of Punt and Pass is brought to you by Humberto Injury Law. If you've been hurt in an accident and need a team that fights for you like we fight on the field, Humberto Injury Law is here for you. Humberto and his team know what it takes to win, and they'll stand by your side every step of the way. Visit HumbertoInjuryLaw.com today to learn more or call them 770-888-8901, 770-888-8901, HumbertoInjuryLaw.com. All right, we said it. The Dogs dominated Alabama 28-7, Jake, to win their second straight SEC championship. The mighty Crimson Tide, -3 total rushing yards. Just incredible to say. It was incredible to witness. I cannot believe it's actually true. But yes, Alabama, after the sacks were factored in to the rushing yards on the day, they had -3 total rushing yards. The Dogs blocked a punt in the first quarter that set up a touchdown. They forced an interception in the first quarter as well, in which they turned around and scored another touchdown. Jake, it was 21-0 at the start of the fourth quarter. Total domination all around in all phases. And I think probably most importantly for Kirby Smart, for the Georgia football team, for Dogs fans everywhere, it was the first ever win against Alabama in Atlanta and for an SEC championship. The Georgia Bulldogs are the 2025 SEC champs, Jake.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. What a game. I was telling Jackie sitting next to you when you had gotten up, I'm like, man, this may be the hardest I've cheered for a football game, I think, ever. Man, it was just a really, really cool, just dominating win, all three phases. I mean, I think we can't give enough credit to the way that defense has played, especially late here, man, in the season. They have really settled into a groove. They have started to get pressure up front. The turnovers have started to happen. Ellis Robinson at corner, man, he was kind of getting targeted very early, right? Staying away from Dalen Everett, and he is kind of really locked in over there, playing the field corner position. Man, they're playing really, really well. This team's playing very good complementary football. The offense was very hot to kind of start the beginning of the season, the middle of the season. And not that they aren't playing maybe quite as hot. You can make that argument, man, but they're still doing whatever they need to do to win football games. Zachariah Branch played lights out and explosive. Nate Frazier had a good game. Gunner played well. The offensive line played well without Drew Bobo. Man, that was the biggest concern that I had going into this football game. Man, are we going to be able to run the football? Are we going to be able to pass protect? Are we going to be able to ID the mic right? But man, just didn't seem to be issues. And of course, blocking a punt on special teams, man, huge.
Absolutely huge. You think about just how Georgia got out in front, never looked back. I mean, it was one of those games where surely if you are a Georgia fan and you've been inside that stadium and you've watched Georgia lose some of these absolute heartbreakers to Alabama, like until it was 28-7 with about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you probably had a little bit of a weird feeling like what's going to happen next? I'm looking around my shoulder. I can't trust it yet. But I had to remind myself, Jake, Georgia went 3 and out on their first 2 drives. I mean, they punted the ball back to Alabama, and they didn't really kind of get freaked out. I think everybody in the stands was like, okay, this is kind of expected. But when they held Alabama to their first 3 and out, I think everybody kind of took that collective deep breath, because in the first matchup this year, Alabama started the game 8 for 8 on third down conversions. Georgia's defense could not get off the field. Ty Simpson was throwing the ball all over the place, and you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, here we go again. Dalen Everett was asked after the game, I don't have this clip, but he was asked, hey, being in the SEC championship game and playing against Alabama, did it mean more to this team in the locker room? Were you guys like extra focused in, or however the reporter phrased the question? And Dalen said, like, no, all we wanted to do was get a 3 and out on the first drive. Like they were so focused on just improving what went wrong in the first matchup. And man, the defense did it in the biggest way possible. And I think too, like when it's one of those early chess matches, Jake, as you just said, 3-and-out punt. Georgia punts the ball back to Alabama. Then they hold them, and then boom, the punt gets blocked. And Cole Spear comes across the edge, blocks the punt. The momentum changes, and then Georgia capitalizes. Like those are the things that you practice for all really season long, all off season long, to be able to capitalize on those in those big moments. And really on the first punt, Jake, you and I were sitting together. I looked at you and I go, that was really close. That seemed like a slow operation. Somebody was close to that one. Watch out, run your radar up. And of course, Cole Spear gets it done. Kirby Smart, after the game, was asked about what it means for this team to finally get over the Alabama hump in Atlanta for an SEC championship. Here were his initial comments post-game.
Before he finished, he said, stand up if you've beaten Alabama in a game. I mean, none of them stood up.
Kirby, could you just talk about what a huge momentum change the block punt was, and then talk a little bit, too, about kind of how special the journey is that the kid who blocked it.
Man, just an unbelievable kid. I mean, he sacrificed so much for this program. I mean, it gets me emotional thinking about it because, we had a team meeting on Friday, and we spoke to the team, and I spoke to the team, and Drew Brennan picked 5 players, and it was a very moving talk. And he put on the screen how many days they had been at Georgia. And he put on the screen how many days potentially they had left. And it was like they have 1%. I mean, I think they had been there 1,200 days at Georgia because they're all 4th and 5th year players. And basically, Coach Coley talked about Cole Spear's sacrifices, and he never flinched. He never complains. He just does what he's asked to do. Dylan Bell scores touchdown tonight, huge in the game. Dalen Everett gets interception, huge in the game, and then Cole Spear blocks the.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jake. That's got to be really moving as well to kind of put the time clock on some of these older guys at Georgia, flash it up on the screen, and just let them know like your time is running out. Like now is your opportunity to make something special. Not that they haven't already. I mean, these senior classes at Georgia over the last couple of years have won more games than anybody, have won more championships than anybody. I love the story about stand up if you've beaten Alabama, and nobody stood up. However, I think Cash Jones a freshman on that first team in 2021, January 2022? I think that is true. Now, I don't want to take away anything from the special moments there, but no need for him to stand up. Okay, so I'm glad that the gravity of the moment was there.
It's like, hey, I won't
super old.
But for those who haven't been, in a locker room, in a team meeting room, like in that moment, dude, you could hear a pin drop.
Oh yeah,
if Kirby's like, "Hey, stand up if you beaten Bama," and I mean, just the realization kicks in. Everybody starts looking around, but it is dead quiet. It is all seriousness, and man, doing something as little and as small maybe as that really fires the guys up and gets them going because they're like, "Wow, man, I've been here, 3-4 years and haven't beaten this Alabama football team." Yeah, that's a big deal. Small, big moment there.
Yeah, he talks about the sacrifice too, and I think he in another clip we have here in a little bit, he dives more into it. But discussing a guy like Cole Spear, a walk-on who's sacrificed so much, who doesn't ask for anything, who just puts his nose to the grindstone and works to get any opportunity. Like, I'm sorry, and I don't want to sound like an old guy. Those days are almost extinct now. I mean, like that's just not going to be in the game of college football. They're expanding scholarship sizes on football teams. A lot of these walk-ons are transferring for their own good to go get on the field. And, Kirby says like he loves the University of Georgia, and now he is in the history books for that gigantic block punt that really opened the floodgates in playing and beating Alabama this past weekend. Jake, you talked about it. The defense was just elite all game long. Kirby spoke about the defensive performance as well and just how special it was, especially in juxtaposition to how bad it was in the first 2 quarters. in that September matchup when Georgia lost to Alabama at home. Here's Kirby talking about the Dogs' defense on Saturday.
Oh, it was a huge difference. It was it was a domination on that side of the ball, and a lot of it came with a chip on their shoulder from the last one, and it came on a chip on their shoulder from improving. We told them after that game that there wasn't a lack of execution in that game at home. They outplayed us, they out-executed us, they probably out-coached us. And we weren't going to let that happen again in terms of the way we played with this guy. They're getting better. Young kids are growing up. There's a lot of naysayers out there for Schumann and his staff, and they never flinched. They kept getting better, kept growing the players, and they played really well tonight.
Okay, we'll go straight in front of me towards the back.
Yeah, Coach Brooks Lawson on this side. Same question I asked Dalen. Just talk about Rayshawn Deacon stepping in at star today and how big of a task that is and how much of a challenge it is against that offense.
Yeah, a lot of motion, a lot of adjustments, but I'll be honest with you, Dink's been practicing really well. We if you go back, we got him a series against Charlotte, and we considered getting him series against Georgia Tech, and Jonell was playing. Jonell's dealing with a little a wrist, but he practiced all week. Jonell practiced and was good to go, and we were like, look, if Jonell's gonna have his club on, maybe we should just give Dink a series or two, and Dink went one series, another series. Things were going our way. He's a good football player.
Yeah, just roll with the hot hand, man. You get these young guys involved, and they've been practicing well, Jake, and then you throw them in the fire, and they're stepping up. Let them keep going. And I think that's one of the things that probably Glenn Schumann and his staff, and Kirby mentioned them. Yeah, they were getting a lot of flack earlier in the season. Teams were scoring a lot of points. Teams were starting fast against Georgia. Georgia's defense was putting the team really in a hole in most of the games, and the offense, to their credit, was figuring out ways to work themselves back into games and win a lot of those games. But man, really over the last 6-8 weeks of the season, probably after that Ole Miss game, the defense has just been playing lights out. I want to say the last 3 games, Texas scored 10 points, Charlotte scored 7 points, Tech scored 9 points, and Bama scored 7 points. So they have stepped up big time. It was definitely the biggest difference maker in the game from Saturday. Again, Alabama, -3 total rushing yards. I've never seen anything like it. Ty Simpson threw an interception. It was, it was pretty special to see what Georgia's defense was able to do. Again, in comparison to what happened in that first game. All right. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Hey, let me circle back on 2 quick comments real quick. One, the -3 rushing yards. Saw a tweet after the game, and talk about SEC rushing stats, for this week in college football, right? It's Georgia, who had 140 something and number 1, and then the other 14 teams that didn't play it tied second with 0, and then Bama at -3, right, for at 16.
Yeah, and it's true.
And then 2 with the punt block. Man, just so glad and call him offsides or have a penalty, right? We've been there before, right? When penalties show up, when bad things happen to Alabama. And then 3, going back, just the defense has settled in. Florida scored 20 points. The most points scored since the Ole Miss game has been Mississippi State with 21 with that late fourth quarter touchdown where they kind of covered. But the defense has constantly thrown guys into the fire, getting them prepared over and over for games like this. So when you do throw a young guy in, man, he's not eyes wide, scared, with a ton of anxiety, man. He is locked in, focused, like, hey, I can do this because I've been here before. I've been thrown in the fire. I have reps at this. Man, let me go execute.
Yep. No, you are exactly right. All right, I got one more Kirby clip here, and it's going to lead us to our next discussion, which, of course, will be breaking down the college football playoff and discussing what the committee got right and wrong and what matchups we like and that we are looking forward to. But Kirby Smart, as he usually does, Jake, gets pretty honest with the media, talks about really the state of college football, but more specifically the state of the Southeastern Conference, as the Dogs just won their 2nd straight SEC championship. And he was talking about going to a 9th conference game next year. and what impact that's going to have on all SEC teams and the impact that it's going to have on those teams when being evaluated by the college football playoff. I think this is highly interesting. I cannot wait to discuss it with you, Jake, because, again, it's going to take us right into our college football playoff discussion. But here is what Kirby Smart said about a ninth SEC game and how it's going to impact teams next season.
I'm going to jump on a soapbox now because I'm going to take your question and run with it, but I want to give you a hypothetical. Okay, that was the ninth game of our SEC schedule, right? So now just imagine that was the ninth game of the season for everybody in the SEC, and everybody played another SEC game. Now, I'm not saying it was on this week. I'm saying it was on a previous week. So that's 8 more losses, right? 16 teams. It's 8 more losses in our league. So 1 team, 2 teams. Let's say this last weekend it was Oklahoma and Ole Miss or whoever hadn't played yet. They played and they got losses. And then they're going to go to the SEC championship and play another game. Those 2 teams were beat up tonight, and that was the 9th game of the year. And we're looking at next year having another game. I mean, the coaches in our league are concerned about it, very concerned about it, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't speak my piece and say that it's concerning. Because if that game affects Alabama, I don't know if it will or not. I have no say-so in it. I've sat in those shoes many times where that game cost you an opportunity. But hypothetically, every team just played another game in their 9th game. So there's 8 more losses. Who just dropped out? All right, and then there's another game, SEC championship. It's tough. It was physical out there tonight, and they were wounded. We were wounded. I got a lot of respect. Noah Thomas tried to go. He had back spasms. He wasn't able to really go. We were without multiple guys. Zion, I mean, you're just beat up.
So I thought that was a great way to kind of lay out exactly what that 9th game is going to do. 1, from a wins-loss perspective. 2, from an injury perspective, just being able to go late in the season. But then 3, if you make it to the SEC championship game after playing 9 conference games, like, what is the point? And I think this is a discussion, Jake, that's going to get examined throughout the offseason. Do conference championship games even matter anymore? Because what we saw this weekend is I think they don't. I really do think they do not matter anymore. Georgia just put belt to ass against Alabama in this game, beat them by 3 touchdowns, held them to -3 rushing yards, vindicated their only loss of the season. And Georgia didn't move in the polls at all. And Alabama didn't move in the polls at all. To me, that's crazy, right? Ohio State and Indiana play.
Yeah.
Ohio State loses, Indiana wins. They just flip in the rankings. Now, it's weird because BYU lost their conference championship game, and they got penalized for it. They're out. Virginia lost their conference championship game, and they got penalized for it. And they're out. So there's no consistency from the committee in terms of how they're going to evaluate and reward or penalize teams that play or don't play in their conference championship. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the writing is on the wall. Kirby said it. Our coaches are concerned about this. And look, the coaches are the ones that are going to have to step up and say, hey, calm down a little bit. We don't know if this is right for our sport or really our league.
Yeah, man, it's really tough because when you look at the SEC or the Big Ten, where you're not really incentivized to play in that conference championship game other than bragging rights, because if you're in that conference and you're playing for those games, you're already ranked up there and you're already in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
However, take the ACC, for example, right? They're incentivized to play and to win that football game, because if you play and win that is your only opportunity to get in the college football playoff, right? Virginia, the only way they were getting in the college football playoff was to win their conference championship game. So on one hand, you have teams and conferences that are incentivized to not play in it, right? I mean, because Ole Miss, Texas A&M, they got to chill and sit at the house, right? In Oregon, right?
Miami,
they're chilling, right?
Yeah.
Yep, they didn't move, whereas, man, BYU and Virginia, man, they're having it all on the line to get into the college football playoffs. So there's no perfect way to fix it. And then, it's been floated and thrown around about having other week, whatever it is, 14 games,
like
right?
a wild
where
card
kind of have a little play-in scenario, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little wild card, for Texas and Vandy, right? And for Miami and Notre Dame, have those teams kind of duke it out. So there's no perfect way to do it. I do know when it comes to talking about college football, money talks. So
Yes.
if there's a way to have more games on the schedule, I'm sure the NCAA really, really loves that. And really quick, when we talk about more games and more SEC games, and we talk about guys like Noah Thomas who are having back spasms, the schedule is very physical. And at what point, Drew, because you and I both know it because we've done it, do you start taking a more NFL model and approach week in and week out with the way you prep and the way you practice, right? The way Georgia practices, they're on the field 4 days a week. The way NFL teams do it, they're on the field 3 days a week.
Right.
There's not two spotting in the NFL, right? There's a one spot. It's a slower paced practice. It's more about getting perfect reps than the quantity and the amount of reps. So I mean, it's kind of at what point do you start taking a more NFL approach to the way you practice and the way you do things? Because when you start looking at it, man, these games are starting to add up. These guys' bodies just can't take it.
I totally agree. You said that absolutely perfectly. There's going to have to be adjustments across the board, and I think that's one that they really do have to look at. All right, we're about to talk about the college football playoff. I'm looking forward to it. Quick reminder, this episode of Punt and Pass is presented to you by our awesome partners over at Solomon Brothers. That's right, Solomon Brothers Jewelers, the best jewelry store in the city of Atlanta. 3 amazing locations for you to choose from: Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg. When you go into a store, tell them Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 10% off your jewelry purchase. Tuesday night, live podcast recording and meet and greet with Jake and myself. Holler at us on social media or at Solomon Brothers. That's at Solomon Brothers on X and Instagram, and SolomonBrothers.com. When we break down football, it's all about the details. Every route, every block, every read. Humberto Injury Law takes the same approach with their clients. They leave nothing to chance and make sure you get the outcome you deserve. It's worked for me. I promise you it can work for you. Humberto is mi amigo. Visit HumbertoInjuryLaw.com to learn more or call them today. They're right here in Atlanta, 770-888-8901. That's HumbertoInjuryLaw.com. All right, college football playoff bracket is set. Jared, go ahead and throw that beautiful graphic up on the screen. Here we go. This is the official 2025 bracket, your top 4 teams. Indiana, number 1 team in the nation, Big Ten champs, undefeated. Ohio State sits at 2. They lost the Big Ten championship game. It was their only loss of the season, so they get the 2 seed. Georgia, for some reason, does not move at all after whooping up on Alabama. They are the 3 seed. And Texas Tech, the Big 12 champs, they are the 4 seed. So those are the 4 teams that get the bye straight into the quarterfinals. So your games to kick off the first round. Jake, the first game on Friday night, December the 19th, Alabama at Oklahoma. That's your 9 versus 8 matchup. The next day, Saturday, we have a triple header. 10th ranked Miami, who got into the playoff, will be at College Station to take on 7th ranked Texas A&M. We've got a rematch of a game that happened earlier this season where 11th ranked Tulane plays 6th ranked Ole Miss in Oxford. And then the last game, rounding it out, James Madison from the Sun Belt, the 12 seed, will go out to Autzen to take on the 5th ranked Oregon Ducks. That is the college football playoff bracket. A lot to discuss here. Obviously, a glaring missing team would be the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame did not make the college football playoff. They were very upset and butthurt about it. They make an announcement on Sunday afternoon. You know what? If we're not in the playoff, we're going to take our name out of bowl contention. We will not be playing in the postseason. Miami gets in. Alabama gets in. Notre Dame left out. And then, of course, it's really important to note that 2 conference champions who were highest ranked, Tulane and James Madison, earned their way into this 12-team field.
Yeah, man, Notre Dame definitely got a little pouty, and they took their ball and went home. For the most part, I think the teams that are in is correct. To me, the only issue that I have is how they went about doing it. you constantly, through the last 3-4 weeks of the college football season, you constantly had Notre Dame ranked ahead of Miami, and then at the last second did the old switch flipperoo. I mean, like, yes, that in my opinion was the right thing to do, but also I don't think how they went about doing it was right. I think you should have been correct at the beginning and had Miami ranked ahead of Notre Dame instead of doing this last second pull the rug out underneath Notre Dame. Jared, if you could, can you throw the bracket back up for for those watching it, because I kind of want to talk about it. The only thing I think I should have been in order to get better ups, in my opinion, right? I think it should be 2, and Ohio State should be 3.
Absolutely.
Okay? In that scenario, you have a better opportunity. In that scenario, you have a better opportunity, right, for this Miami Georgia matchup, which I think would be incredible for ratings. All right, I think Texas A&M is a better football team than Ole Miss, and they had a better football season. It was just about a timing of losses, right? I think Texas A&M would love to play Tulane, right? That Ole Miss, and we already saw what happened when Ole Miss played Tulane earlier.
They whooped up on them,
right? So why are we getting a rematch? Yeah, like, so you already did the flipperoo with Miami and Notre Dame. Do the flipperoo with Ole Miss and Texas A&M, and back to what your statement earlier, do we incentivize conference championships? Do they mean anything? Do they not? Alabama and Georgia don't move, but BYU gets kicked out. And I think Georgia, strength of schedule, by every metric that they love to measure things against, Georgia has had a better football season than Ohio State.
100%.
It is just Ohio State has just been up there and feeling more love from the get-go and just hasn't played anybody and just has won games. So anyway, that's kind of my take. I would love to see a Miami Georgia possibility. Ole Miss, I don't think Ole Miss is the 6th best football team in the country right now. They just lost their juggernaut and their head coach.
Yeah.
And they didn't move a lick. And we've seen them do that to Florida State after losing. I don't know. I think it's a bigger deal than what they are saying. And they didn't have any movement with Ole Miss. They were scared to touch that.
I 100% agree. You mentioned a lot. Let me try to touch on some of it as well. Georgia should be the number 2 team in the country. They have a far superior resume than Ohio State. One, they're conference champs. Ohio State is not. They just lost their conference championship game. 2, they have a better strength of schedule than Ohio State. That's just factually correct. 3, Georgia has more ranked wins than Ohio State. And then 4, they've got a common opponent. Ohio State beat Texas 14-7. Georgia beat Texas 35-10. By almost every metric, Georgia is a better football team and has a better resume than Ohio State. They should have moved up after winning the SEC championship to the 2 seed. However, the committee just left them at the 3 seed, which is absolutely crazy. I did not get that. That did not make much sense to me whatsoever. In terms of the Miami-Georgia matchup, now there is a path that they could be playing in the semifinal game. Could be Gunnar Stockton versus Carson Beck, Georgia versus Miami, with a chance to go to Miami for the national championship. So we'll wait and see what happens on that one. I was on a soapbox about Georgia and Alabama and how they did not move after the conference championship game yesterday on social media. I'm sitting there saying, this makes no sense. And I said, you're going to hear a lot of people, Jake, talking about, well, do conference championship games matter? Should we play in them anymore? You can't get penalized for losing your conference championship game. And I said, we cannot forget, in 2023, Georgia was 12-0 in the regular season. They were the back-to-back defending national champions.
How many games have they won in a row up to that point?
It was ridiculous. They lost that game by 3 points on a neutral field to Alabama, and they went from number 1 to number 6. And people were like, well, that was when it was a 14 playoff, and that comparison doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And I go, you're missing the point. Alabama just got drubbed, and they did not move at all. They kept them at 9. That makes no sense. So I was shocked at that. I really, really was. I thought Miami and Notre Dame were both going to get in. I thought how the game played out in Atlanta, Jake, was the only scenario in which Alabama could have gotten knocked out. They're banged up. They're highly injured. They have not been playing well over the last 6 weeks. Georgia just beat them down. They had -3 total rushing yards. Like, that was the blueprint for how to get Alabama out of the playoff. And of course, it did not happen. So the committee keeps them in. I surely think there were conversations around TV ratings and brands. And yes, Notre Dame is an NBC team. Alabama and the SEC now are on ABC and ESPN. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. But you look at these first round matchups, Jake. Here are the opening lines. Alabama, a 1.5 point favorite at Oklahoma. Interesting there because, again, Oklahoma beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa about 3 weeks ago, 23-21. So that should be a really good game to get things underway. Texas A&M, a 4.5 point favorite at home against Miami. That's going to be rocking there in College Station. That should be an awesome atmosphere. Tulane at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, a 17.5 point favorite. I want to say the first matchup was like 45-10, Jake, if you can check that. Ole Miss whooped up on them.
That's correct.
And, of course, it was Lane Kiffin there, and Lane Kiffin is no more. And then the last game of the first round matchups, James Madison at Oregon. Oregon, a 21.5 point favorite. So
21.5.
I would expect Oregon to probably, take care of business there. Is there any way Tulane is live against Ole Miss? I'm just thinking, man, this is Pete Golding's first ever game as a head coach. You don't have.
You got Summerall there who's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the door. So you can't forget about that.
I know, but they took care of business on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but he's busy trying to work on his staff and recruit, especially with this kind of time off where you're trying to recruit and get guys here and put pieces together. I've seen that. I've seen that in the NFL. Especially when you get the first round bye, man, there's just a lot of distractions. You think you have a lot of off time. You're not quite as focused. To me, man, the game that's going to be really fun to watch is going to be the Miami Texas A&M game.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's going to have the most dudes, the most NFL caliber guys on the field. Man, that is going to be a really fun game to watch. And I think about the line we talked about, the Alabama, Oklahoma. We'll get into all this later, but 1.5 points. I just don't think anybody's counting on Oklahoma beating Alabama, right? This is all about brand, beating Alabama 3 times in a row.
I know. No, listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. How about this? Okay. I was putting 2 and 2 together and Notre Dame, of course, does not make the college football playoff. They're highly upset. They take their ball and go home, as you said. Thanks, but no thanks. They were supposed to play BYU in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which would have been like a matchup of the first 2 teams out of the college football playoff. So I thought that would have been good. Brady Quinn, former quarterback who's now on Fox Sports, was crying in his soup yesterday going, well, ESPN, shame on you. You're saying Notre Dame should play. All you want is for the ratings, for your network to air another bowl game, whatever. I don't care about that. Did you see last week? Because obviously Notre Dame didn't play last week. They're not in the conference. Did you see last week Marcus Freeman was on the Today Show? NBC in New York City, head coach of Notre Dame football on the Today Show. I don't know what he was doing. Little press tour going around. Why was he in New York? What was Marcus Freeman doing in New York after the season's over? Oh, wait a minute. The New York Giants don't have a football coach. Was Marcus Freeman potentially talking to the New York Football Giants about their head coaching vacancy? Especially now they're not playing any more football games. Hey, we're done. Especially now where Notre Dame's going, we're not in a conference. We just got screwed out of a college football playoff berth because of things that we don't agree with. The athletic directors saying, the ratings show is a joke and they teased our student athletes. I don't know, Jake. I don't know. I think Marcus Freeman could be potentially looking around for bigger and better. Does that make sense? I think he'd be a great NFL head coach. I'll just go ahead and say that as well.
Oh, yeah, I think so as well. I think he just the way he would relate, the way he would just command the room, I think in an NFL room, I think guys would really really buy into that. Yeah, I'm going to challenge listeners here. Hey, let's look at all these tail numbers and these flight numbers, and let's see if we have a Notre Dame PJ or maybe a New York Football Giant PJ going to pick him up. That is very interesting, Drew. I just want to congratulate you on that. I mean, that's some connecting of the dots right there, and I think there may be something to that.
I can't take full credit for that. I don't want to give up my sources, but I had a discussion yesterday, and that was part of the discussion. And I said, wow, I am going to talk about that on my podcast, and I'll be honest and say it was not my idea. I did not put them 2 and 2 together, but I just think that's something to watch out for. A lot of noise around Notre Dame right now. And gosh, the AD was just going nuts yesterday. This is ridiculous. Yeah. The rating show is a joke. I'm like, hey, man, get into a conference. You were 1 and 2 against ranked teams. The 2 teams that got in front of you, Miami and Texas A&M, you lost to both of them. So I'm sorry. Like, it's really not that hard of a discussion to have. Yeah. Be better, win more games, and you can find yourself in the college football playoff. Did you see, though, however, the clause that they signed, Notre Dame, with the college football playoff that goes into effect next season, Jake?
That if they're ranked in the top 12, no matter what,
that they're automatically in. So that kicks off next year. I guarantee you we're going to 16 teams next year. I think that's a fact. Expansion is coming. I think that's a sad fact. One of the other things too, Jake, that I want to just touch on is a lot of people are sitting there saying, do we have to let Tulane and James Madison in? Are they really 2 of the best 12 teams in the country? Do we need a 21.5-point favorite and a 17.5-point favorite in the first round of the playoffs? I mean, I get that's how the principles are written out for the College Football Playoff Committee, but you'd be hard pressed to say Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt, BYU wouldn't all beat those 2 teams in a first round matchup.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned this like play-in wild card weekend. Hey, maybe they get berths into that kind of scenario, and then you get to watch them play a Texas or a Vandy or a Notre Dame or a BYU that's scrapping and clawing to find their way into the dance. So, I think there's a ton of ways to skin the college football cat about who's in the playoffs and who's not. If we go to 16 teams, this is just, hey, straight up, everybody starts at one time, or is this wild card block that goes into here and then here? I don't know, man. It's weird. It can be staggered and done a lot of different ways, but I don't know, man. I think this is just going to be something that we can argue.
Got a lot to talk about.
Yes,
we do. We've got a lot to talk about. That's why Punt and Pass is going to keep it rolling all the way through the national championship game. It's the best. We couldn't do it without our awesome partners. So thank you so much. This episode of Punt and Pass has been presented to you by our awesome partners over at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Check them out on social media at Solomon Brothers and SolomonBrothers.com. They've got everything you need to win this holiday gift season. That's right. Whatever your budget is, whatever you're looking for, diamonds, jewelries, accessories, watches, they've got it all. Tell them Punt and Pass sent you. You can get up to 10% off your jewelry purchase. Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg. SolomonBrothers.com. And remember, Humberto Injury Law is your first call when accidents happen. Don't wait. Visit HumbertoInjuryLaw.com today. Humberto Injury Law, protecting people, fighting for justice, winning results. Call them right now, 770-888-8901. That's HumbertoInjuryLaw.com, the #1 personal injury and workers' comp attorney in Atlanta. Jake, anything on the way out, my man?
No, man, these games are going to be awesome. Going to be fun. It's going to be very quick, man. We're going to close our eyes, and then, boom, these games are going to be here. So it's going to be fun.
There you go. Follow us at Punt and Pass, at Drew Butler, at From Jake, and we will talk to you on Thursday. See ya.